YouTube is live. Good afternoon, everybody. Here I am back to talk to you about another hot topic. How hot is it? Hotter than outside hot. Excuse me. Today we are talking about the top factors that determine the value of your workers' compensation settlement. The slide is too big. It's the number one. There I am. It is the number one most talked about question I get, comments, phone calls, emails. Everyone wants to know, how do I maximize dollar value? That's what we're here for. Everyone wants to talk money. Today we're going to talk money. What are the top factors that determine the value of your workers' compensation claim? We're going to dive right in, folks. As always, post your questions here. I will try to get to everybody today. You guys have been asking some fantastic questions, and I certainly appreciate it. But here we go. What medical factors affect the value of your workers' compensation claim? So number one, the nature and the severity of your injury. First and foremost, how bad is your injury? Unfortunately, the worse the injury, the more money it's worth. So is that unfortunate? Is it fortunate? You tell me. Generally speaking, the more serious your injury, I might cut myself out of the picture here. Hey, look, my whole body. The more serious the injury, the bigger the settlement, generally speaking. Now, it's not always true. And certain injuries, certain disabilities, they can be the exception to the rule. And oftentimes, really, really, really bad injuries and accidents, especially ones that are newsworthy, sometimes don't carry the value that a similar, slightly less severe or notorious injury would carry. Why? Because the insurance company wants to look like the good guy. So oftentimes they make all their payments, they do the right thing, and those cases might not necessarily end in settlement values because they're paying the weekly awards the way they should be. And there's not much left to fight for. But listen, we do the best we can to maximize your dollar value here, and you should do the same with your case. Also, the permanent or temporary nature, status of your injury has a lot to do with the dollar value. Permanent injuries are worth more. If you have a permanent injury, it's going to get you more money than a temporary injury that will ultimately resolve over time. Multiple injuries generally are worth more. If you hurt multiple body parts, they oftentimes add up and come together for either an overall impairment rating, non-schedule award, as we've discussed in the past, or if you have all schedulable injuries. We just met with a client a few months ago, has a knee and a shoulder and an arm and a wrist. Well, those are all schedules. Each one has its own value, and they all get added together. And the more injuries you have, the more money ultimately your case should be worth. Your disability rating is a huge factor. A higher disability rating means you're entitled to more money as your case goes on, and a higher permanency rating or schedule loss rating means that your permanent disabilities are worth more money as well. The need for future medical treatment. So settlements are higher if future medical care is expected. In circumstances where a person is receiving Social Security disability or Medicare, or they're eligible for either of those two, we have to get that future medical amount, that determination made by Medicare. The Centers for Medicare Services do what's known as a MSA, a Medicare set-aside, and they tell us the value of your future medical. But even in circumstances where that's not required, we still have to evaluate the cost of your future medical and factor that into your settlement. Ongoing treatment will add value to your claim, which is why sometimes the value is greater before you reach maximum medical improvement, because when you reach maximum medical improvement, presumably you don't need much more medical care, and the value of your future medical is down because your doctors have said you're done with your treatment. So you want to kind of get it as it's approaching that MMI. Sometimes you're going to try to settle after you reach maximum medical improvement, MMI. Sometimes you want to start the ball rolling before you get to that point, so there's still some uncertainty as to what your future medical picture looks like, and your lawyer can use that to bring up the value of your case. It's water time. So again, and I'm following my notes here, MMI, have you reached maximum medical improvement? Settlements usually happen after this point, around this point. Again, we like to try to get the ball rolling before. As you're approaching MMI, I find that there's a little more value to be had if you do it as you're approaching MMI. Why? Because there's still uncertainty as to what your MMI will be. Schedule versus non-schedule injuries, like we just discussed. Schedule injuries, we use the chart, we use the schedule. Here's my schedule, handcrafted by me using packing tape and I believe it's orange, file folder in 1998. Still works to this day. The tape is peeling. It has a 5% loss of use of itself, but it's non-compensable, so we're just going to put it back over there. But the schedule chart, it's a chart. Every body part has a value, and we use the chart to figure out how much each one of those things is worth. An arm, a total loss of use of an arm gets you 312 weeks of compensation payable to total rate. So a 10% disability to your arm gets you 31.2 weeks of compensation payable at that total rate, from which the carrier will take credit for prior payments. Non-schedule, they don't take credit for prior payments. They pay you based upon your level of disability. So your weekly benefits are payable based upon your level of disability. You don't get the total rate like you do in a scheduled case. If you have a 50% disability, you get 50% rate, which is half of 2/3 of your salary, or 1/3 of your salary for a 50% disability. But they do not take credit against prior payments, and you're paid based upon a pay schedule into the future. 50%, you get 300 weeks of compensation at the 50% rate. So that's how medical plays a role here. What about financial factors? What financial factors affect the value of your workers' compensation settlement? The biggest one, and we've discussed this before, we might need to do a whole live just on average weekly wage, what it is, how it's computed, what to look for. Average weekly wage is the biggest factor, the biggest financial factor, which affects the value of your workers' compensation settlement. The higher your average weekly wage, the higher your weekly awards, the higher your settlement. And the most minor mistake is compounded when you're looking at average weekly wage. Being wrong about pennies, once that translates into hundreds of weeks of benefits, that can really add up. And a few dollars off on your average weekly wage could really cost you a lot in the long term. So being able to figure out your average weekly wage in a way that benefits you the most and still uses the rule of law. You don't want to make it up out of thin air, but you do want to follow the law. But the law gives you different ways of calculating average weekly wage, and we generally will try to use all of them and pick the best one. But you certainly want to make sure you have an understanding there. And if you don't, you want to call a lawyer who does have an understanding. I love average weekly wage. I'm a nerd. Where's my... I have my go-to calculator in a pinch, but I also have like the accountant's tape calculator, and I love sitting there and the noise gets me going. But I love figuring out average weekly wage because it's a way to find money in a case where it's not otherwise found. When you walk into your hearing, excuse me, the judge is going to say, "What's the average weekly wage?" And the carrier is going to say, "Oh, we calculated blah blah blah." And 9 times out of 10, your lawyer's going to say, "Yeah, that's fine. Do it without prejudice, just in case I ever want to take the time to look at the paperwork." But we like to figure it out and see exactly where they're getting their number from, because a lot of times if we can show that you earned more, it gets you more. So really super important. I can't stress it enough. Lost wages are another financial factor that affect the value of your workers' compensation claim. Lost time can add value to your claim. In certain circumstances, it could actually work against you, which is why having a lawyer who understands the system is so important. And if you need a lawyer, you can always call me, 212-406-8989. But we, in a case with, generally speaking, non-scheduled cases, lost time adds value to your case. Scheduled cases, it could actually reduce the value or reduce your overall money in your pocket. The sooner you go back to work on a scheduled loss case, the sooner you're making your paycheck, the sooner they stop paying you compensation benefits, the less money they get to take credit for at the end of your case. Very, very important. Pardon me. The inability to return to work in the future can mean more money. So if you can't go back to work, it might be more valuable to you, but it's important to know what type of case you have and what situation, what set of factors you have, so you know which laws and rules apply. Returning to work at reduced income, reduced earnings, we call it, could be valuable to you, even if it's on a temporary basis and you ultimately heal 100% and you go back and you get back to full duty, that reduced earnings does have value, and you want to keep track of that. You want to keep your pay stubs, keep all your information so that you and your lawyer can sit down and figure out what reduced earnings you have. You have. Cost of future treatment. So this is a medical / financial factor. Expensive future care can increase the settlement value. It will certainly increase the medical side of it. But the fact that you might need surgery down the road, surgery equates to more lost time, which equates to more value. And you want to make sure that all this is known by you and your lawyer when you are negotiating your settlement. The insurance company is going to try to close your case. They might pay you more money to entice you to do that so they can avoid those future medical expenses that could be very big. And as we said before, Medicare set-asides, that's when a formal accounting, a formal declaration of your future medical costs is required to be added to your settlement documents because of Medicare rules and regulations based upon your eligibility for Medicare. So sometimes that's a factor, and sometimes that's a positive one. Sometimes it's a negative one. Sometimes we can use it to our advantage. And we try to always do the best we can to maximize case value. That's really our should be our little buzz term here. What legal factors can affect the value of your workers' compensation settlement? Well, the strength of your case, well-documented claims that have good support, good evidence, certainly push the insurance company back on their heels and could increase your overall value. And you would think that conversely, disputed claims can reduce settlement value. And in often circumstances where certain aspects of your claim are a little weaker than others, sometimes that could reduce the value of your case. Sometimes if you have a borderline case as to whether it's compensable or not, that could reduce the value of your case. But in certain circumstances, cases that might have questionable liability or a case that might not be a winner at first glance could have extraordinary value, especially if your lawyer does go and win that case. And, we had one, was that yesterday? This week, where there was questionable liability. I'm not going to get into the facts of it because it's a very ripe, brand new case. But the insurance company thought they had a sure winner on their hands, and they called me up the day of the hearing, and they said, "Hey, this is a waste of our time. We'll give you $5,000 to go away." And I said, no, it's not worth it. It's worth significantly more than $5,000. And lo and behold, we went into court, we litigated it, and off the bat, right then and there, at that hearing alone, I think I made more than $5,000 for my client on a case that's now continuing, and that person's getting continuing awards. So a disputed claim could have reduced value, but could also have a good amount of value depending on how your lawyer can evaluate that case and see the gold and see the case for what it's worth. Settlement types. So that's your type of settlement is a legal factor which can affect the value of your workers' compensation case. What does that mean, Rex? How can one settlement be worth more than another? A Section 32 settlement is an absolute closure of your case. It cannot be reopened for any reason at any time without the written consent of all parties, including the carrier and the board. And why would the carrier ever agree to reopen a case that's been permanently closed? They paid to close it. They paid to get rid of it. They're not going to reopen it. So those cases give them a sure, absolute closure. They're going to pay for it. So because they're getting a Section 32 closure in their case, we do our best to get some more value, even if it's a nuisance value case. In a lot of circumstances, they'll try to throw in you stubbed your toe 10 years ago while you're working with this employer, and now you hurt your shoulder. Well, we're going to settle your shoulder case for $50,000, but we want to throw in that stubbed toe case from 10 years ago. So just do it. No, we still want value for it because you're getting a Section 32 closure of that case. Who knows whatever happened there, but we're giving you absolute closure. We call it consideration in the legal field. I want money for it. A stipulation. So generally we use stipulations. A stipulation is just an agreement, and the stipulation form is really a blank piece of paper. You put the case information on the top and everyone signs at the bottom, and the middle is just blank. And you can write down whatever the two sides agree on. Generally, we use them for awards if we're making an award of compensation for a period of time, or stipulating to schedule loss of use. If we stipulate the schedule loss of use and the case gets closed that way, there is not an absolute closure. You have an ability to reopen your case if there's a worsening in your condition. So the insurance company pays a little less for those, but you have the right to potentially reopen your case if you need to. So settlement type can certainly have an impact on your value. Insurance company strategies. Different insurance companies handle things different ways. Some insurance companies don't settle cases at all. They're in the minority. Most insurance companies do, but there are ones that won't even settle your case at all. Some insurance companies love throwing that low ball first offer to save themselves money. Excuse me, because they know law of averages. If they make low ball offers to 1,000 clients, 1,000 claimants in this world, if 10 of them take it, they just save that much money. So a lot of insurance companies have that as their opening technique to settling a case. The longer a case stays open, the more it costs the insurance company. It costs them money in medical fees. They got to pay for your doctor and your treatment. They got to pay for legal fees. They got to pay for lawyers to go to court and write appeals and summations. They got to pay for lawyers to review files and review medicals. So the longer your case stays open, the more it's going to cost them, and you could use that to your advantage. Steph has the comment of the day. If you're finding this video valuable, I'm trying to be subdued in my tones today and relaxed. Don't forget to hit like. Don't forget to subscribe. If you love it, I love you guys. Please, thank you so much. Timing is another legal factor, and we discussed that earlier. Approaching MMI, at MMI, right around the pinnacle of your case. To me, when I talk about these things, MMI, I see a little bell curve in my head, and I'm a very visual person, and I like drawing examples. But we all know what a bell curve is. That is a horrible bell curve, Rex. But that's the bell curve, right? Everyone can see that's a bell curve. And when I talk about MMI, I see MMI being right at the peak of that bell curve. And when do I want to settle? I want to settle here. Please excuse my handwriting, but there it is. MMI is the peak. You've reached maximum medical improvement. Treatment. The treatment train runs up the hill, gets to the top, and after that, it runs down. When do we want to settle? Did I just realize, is one of you guys backwards? Instagram is backwards, so turn your head backwards, and then you'll understand what I'm saying. But when do I want to start looking at settlement? Right before we hit MMI until right after we hit MMI. Waiting too long reduces value. If you've been classified with a permanent disability and you have a 50% disability and you get 300 weeks of benefits, and then you wait, 3 years after you were classified, well, they've eaten into that schedule of awards. Your settlement value has just gone down significantly. If you've gotten most or all the treatment you could ever need in this case, settlement value goes down significantly. The best time is often right around that MMI period. It is 9,000 degrees in New York today, and I had to go out. Oh man, am I dehydrated. What's strategic? I love strategery. And personal factors affect the value of your workers' compensation settlement. Willingness to negotiate. You need to be willing to negotiate, and you need to be willing to hand over control to your lawyer a little bit. We do this every day. We know what we're doing. We know the players. We know who we're talking to. I know certain insurance companies and adjusters and attorneys that play hardball, and you got to do the back and forth 10 rounds with Leon Spinks to get to a point of agreement. I know there's a lot of other adjusters and attorneys that say, look, this is what we're offering. We think it's fair. It's in the ballpark. Let's get this done. And it's a lot less back and forth and ponging offers and demands back and forth. We know what we're doing. So you got to give us a little control here. And it's shocking how people sometimes don't do that. Let us do our job. When you go to the dentist, you don't tell them how to fill your cavity. When you go to the mechanic, you don't tell them how to change your muffler. Let us do our job. You have to have a willingness to negotiate and a willingness to cede control. Accepting the first offer. You don't want to accept the first offer, generally speaking. Sometimes you do. Listen, these are not absolutes. These are generalities. But Let your lawyer know what you're thinking. Let you understand what your lawyer's thinking so you can be on the same page and move that case forward. Uh, we just had a client in here an hour ago. We didn't talk about anything except strategy. This is what I think we should do. This is what I want to do. And this is how I think we should achieve that. And I want to make sure that we're on the same page. And we had a discussion about that. It wasn't, here's money. There wasn't, they're cutting your money off. It wasn't about treatment. It was we had a strategy meeting. We went, this became the, man, never mind. So yes, that's how I feel about that. Cede control of your lawyers. Be willing to negotiate. Don't just think the first thing that comes through is going to be is the end all be all of your case. Also, sometimes you need to have a willingness to litigate. And the same goes like I just said. Give control to your lawyer a little bit. That's what we do. We litigate cases, and sometimes you got to say enough of this crap. We're putting the gloves on and we're gonna fight. Fighting in court and getting a better, every time you fight in court for an issue, whether it's the degree of disability and the related benefits, surgery, whatever it is you're fighting for, every time you win a particular aspect, your case should notch up in value a little bit because you're getting more. So sometimes you need to be open to have that willingness to go to court. Don't be afraid, especially if you and your lawyer agree to that. And that's why you need to sit down. If your lawyer is confident that he could do well in court, and today's been the day of examples. I literally had a phone call with a client maybe a half an hour before I signed on, where they offered him dog poop, and then I showed them where the value in the case is, and now they offered him a little more like a little more dog poop, a little dog poop with cat poop on top. And I said, and all I said to him was, we're going to court. We have a hearing coming up already. Let's go to court. Let's fight this thing and see what happens. Got nothing to lose. And we're on the same page and we agree, and we're going to go in there and beat him over the head and try to get the money we can get. So sometimes you need to have that willingness to litigate, grind it out. You want to leverage over the insurance company. The insurer wants to avoid setting precedent, public exposure, or court costs. So yes, certain borderline cases, we saw this, and I'm not going to get into details, but we saw it with COVID. We saw it with, people getting COVID at work. Sometimes when something new comes across the table that we really haven't seen before, the insurance companies are afraid to set a precedent as to what is compensable and what's not, or what is valuable and what is not. And that could be worth money, depending on your type of case. Public exposure. We talked about those high profile, newsworthy cases. Sometimes they want to avoid the papers. They want to avoid the press. And maybe that could be worth money to you as well. We've had a few of those throughout the years, different types of cases, which I'm not going to get into because I can't. But the other thing is court costs and legal expenses. Do you really want to take depositions of 12 doctors, insurance company, when we're not too far apart on degree of disability? Or do you want to sit and beat this thing to death when we could just have a 5-minute discussion, work out a rate, move the case on? So, using that leverage over the insurance company could have value to you. Strategy. It's important. It's not always just putting your head down and blasting through the offensive line into the defensive secondary. Sometimes you want some strategy when you're planning out your next play, and that's how it works. Urgency or desperation is another personal factor, an important personal factor that really it lends itself to the value of your case. Do you need the money right away? We've had clients that are getting foreclosed on, and they say, I don't care that my case is worth triple what you're telling me. I need it, and I need it as soon as possible. And it's unfortunate. We try to do what we can to just get it done quickly for as much as possible, rather than as much as possible being the priority and then quickly. But it's just the way it is. If you don't need the money right away, then hold out. Try to get more. You have the time and you have the resources to hold out and try to get more money. Get more money. The last strategic factor, very strategic, is having a good lawyer. Having a good lawyer gets you more money. Studies have shown that having a lawyer gets you more money. We know what we're doing. We know the value of your case. We know where there's not value of your case. Again, client today, I've been in pain for 5 years. My pain and suffering is through the roof. While I sympathize with that person, I feel for that person, I want to hug the guy, I get it. There's no value in a workers' compensation claim for pain and suffering. So We could talk about it till we're blue in the face. It's not worth money. So, pain and stuff, talk to a lawyer, get a consultation. It's free. It's easy. We know what we're doing, and it's certainly worth your time. Now that you heard me rant and rave about you getting the most money for your case, because I want that for you because I care about you, let's answer some questions. Drew Zempic. I'm not saying you're fat. I'm just thanks for all you do. Thank you. 44 NJ, rear-ended, March 24th. Back surgery, bladder incontinence, 1,000 weekly wage, third-party depot in August. What is the comp case value and when is it likely to settle? Well, if this just happened in March, I don't practice in New Jersey. I don't know New Jersey law. I only go to Atlantic City maybe once a year and a giant game here and there. So I don't know much, but I know I love you. I don't know what the value is. Do you have a lawyer? If you do, ask your lawyer. If you don't, call me and I can help you find a lawyer that can answer those questions for you. But if this just happened in March, 3 months ago to the day, it might be a little early. Sit tight, talk to your lawyers. If you need help finding somebody, please give me a call, 212-406-8989. Now, nobody is as happy as I am, but second to me is Donna because she's so happy to have caught me live. Thank you, and I'm happy to be here. Donna, if you have any questions, please feel free to post them up here. I'm going to try to get to everybody. If I develop kidney problems due to the medications used to treat my complex regional pain syndrome caused by the accident, will this have an impact on my case? Well, first and foremost, before we even look at the settlement side of things, it sounds like you have a consequential injury, a consequential disability. You have developed kidney problems as a consequence to the medications used to treat your complex regional pain syndrome, or RSD, reflex sympathetic dystrophy. Every time anybody ever brings up that disability to me, you know I'm going to give you the acronyms for both and the full, what they mean, the full explanation. I'm a little stewed today. But yes, complex regional pain syndrome, also known as RSD, reflex sympathetic dystrophy. So you want to get medical for that. If you're here in New York, you can claim a consequential disability. You can get the treatment for it paid for by the insurance company since it is consequentially related. Will it have an impact on your ultimate settlement value? If there are any longstanding effects, it certainly should. But you got to make sure you get it into your case first, and that's the most important part. Get good medical. Talk to your doctor that's prescribing these medications and changing the medications, and the doctor that found the kidney problem. Say, hey, can you write all this down for me and explain it so that if it is related, I can try to pursue it? Thanks, doc. Have a nice day. So it certainly could have an impact on your case. JN, great question. You know what, JN? Because you're you, and that was a good one, you're getting a gold star. The Graham, you guys don't see the gold star, but it's beautiful. Simply beautiful. Thank you. Rebel. Hi, Rex. Hope you're having a blessed day. If by blessed you mean 97 degrees and humid, it is blessed. Yes, I'm having a fantastic day. Thank you. Is there a way to get surgery approved faster? I have 5 doctors saying I need a 3-level fusion in my neck, but I'm still getting denied. Whoever's requesting the surgery, I love the doctors. I do. They work hard, and I think they're not appreciated. I don't think they're compensated the way they should be. And I understand the arguments on both sides of the coin. I'm not even going to get into them. But the denials in workers' compensation here in New York tell you why they're denying it. They can't just say denied, that's it. It's denied because, and whatever that is, gives them an opportunity to explain why they're requesting it, why it should not be denied. So they're handing it to you on a silver platter. What you should do is, if you're in New York, Rebel, take that denial. If you don't have it, we did it today with a client. Got denied. I printed out the denial. I showed it to them. This is what your doctor asked for. This is why I was denied. Talk to your doctor about it. Let them put in something a little meatier that explains away why they're denying your care. Mr. Big Boo-hoo. I finally have my settlement hearing tomorrow. It's been a long time. Congratulations. It's a good feeling. Please, if you're in New York and it's virtual, answer the phone. It's probably the most frustrating thing as an attorney when you fight the person's case and you get them benefits and you get them treatment and you're doing everything and then you negotiate a great settlement. You get that settlement done and paperwork is done and you finally get your day in court. And then the judge calls your client and they get voicemail. or the phone doesn't get picked up, or he's not here, he went to the store. I want to take the screen, the computer screen, because we do it virtual still, with both hands, and I want to smash my forehead into it. That's the feeling I get. When the big day comes, answer the phone, show up in front of the judge, show them that you're serious, get your money and move on. And that's what you're looking for. So congratulations, Mr. Big Boo Hoo. The other person who's a Mr. Big Boo Hoo was me. I went to the Met game yesterday. They lost. They embarrassed me. No, they didn't. Listen, it's called a skid. It happens to us all. Natalie. Hi, Rex. Hi, Natalie. IME doctor says I don't need ablation and found me 25% disabled. Second level approved it. My temporary payment stopped in January after hearing, and reserve decision was found in favor of insurance. What should I expect after my procedure if I reach MMI? That's a very broad question, and we can attack it from a lot of different angles. Is your attorney appealing the reserve decision? Was it a reserve decision disallowing that treatment that was already approved? Was it just no benefits? Was it no benefits until surgery is performed? A lot of factors here. Natalie, do you have a lawyer? Because those are a lot of questions you need to ask your lawyer. But you could it's hard to say what to expect. Go get your treatment, try to get on the road to recovery and feel better so that you can put this behind you. That's really the most important thing. Rebel is in New York. In New York. And Donna, she's post-op, left rotator cuff repair 9 months. A new MRI shows a metal artifact was left, but not visible on an X-ray. Had to be left behind from surgery. Crazy. It's crazy that it wasn't shown on X-ray, because usually metal comes up on an X-ray. Do they need to go back in and get it out? Is it bothering you? You put an M there, but I didn't get the what's after the Finish that question, Donna. I want to hear what's going on here. Suzuki, after 8 epidurals, 18 months later, New York Workers' Comp Insurance finally approved my doctor to do nerve ablation for my sciatic issue that occurred after my first failed L4, L5, S1 procedure. And now you went off topic. Where are my minors? Greetings, Zach. That's me. It's been a while for me on your channel. Thank you for everything you do and you bring to us. My pleasure. My pleasure. I'm happy. And I'm happy you got your surgery authorized. Josh Buckland. It's a great name. That's like a good quarterback name or pitcher. That's like a good closer name. Coming in for the 9th, Josh Buckland. If I turn down getting injections in my back and shoulder, will that affect me? I was told by my doctors it would not help me. Not necessarily. You're not required to get treatment. If you choose not to get a surgery, an injection, you don't have to do it. It just means you're that much closer to MMI and closer to getting a permanency ranking for your back and your shoulders. And then we have to start factoring in things like lost time and whether or not it's you're going the schedule route, the non-schedule route. But you don't have to get surgery to your back and your throwing arm. Professional pitcher Josh Buckland. You talk to your doctors about the ramifications of doing it versus not doing it. Listen, if the percentages are low and they might not help you, don't do it if you don't want to do it. That's fine. Jay's High Limit Slots is glad he caught me live. All right. And he says, what should I do if my doctor is refusing to sign my paperwork requested by the insurance company? Depends on what the paperwork is. I don't know what paperwork we're talking about. Hello, Rex. Armadivian 1. Hello, Rex. My pain management doctor was writing on his report that I was denying dizziness, headaches, balance issues after 7 months after my accident. What can I do to fix this? I assume you're saying that you did have dizziness, headaches, and balance issues. You got to talk to your doctor. And you could say, Doc, what are you doing? You wrote the wrong thing, and I'm having all these problems, and maybe he can go back and fix that. As Steph said before, don't forget to hit like. Don't forget to subscribe. I'm not in it for the glamour. I just like to know I'm helping people. That's all. That's really all it is, to be completely honest. So smash like and subscribe. 8 out of 10 MMPI2 scores were high. The defense psychiatrist basically lied and said nothing was wrong with me, as they do. He broke their ethics code, and I can prove it. I'm awaiting the decision of the law judge. Okay. I don't know if there's more to that, but he's angry. How are you today? I have a question. I had surgery on my back, L5, L6, S1. You are an alien. There is no L6. After L5 comes S1. So I'll move on. We'll just assume that that was not written. And it didn't help. It didn't help me. This was back in December. My doctor keeps trying to sending me to get shots and trying to get me another surgery. Okay. Is there anything I could do to get the MMI instead of surgery? Yeah. Talk to your doctor. Say, Doc, I don't want surgery. Am I at an MMI? Is there anything else other than surgery that's going to help me? If it's not, I don't really think I want surgery. If that's really your choice, make sure you make an informed decision. Talk to your doctor about the pros and the cons of getting and not getting surgery. But if you reach a conclusion within yourself that you're done, get an MMI report and start wrapping things up. I got the whole Puerto Rican family asking me this question. Good afternoon. How long does a workers' compensation case typically take in Florida from start to finish, or are there different factors that determine the timeline? I don't practice in Florida. I'm not licensed in Florida. I can't answer that question with any specificity, but I can tell you there are different factors that affect the timeline in any case. And it's all the things we discussed here. The severity and the nature of your injury. Did you need surgery? Lost time. All factors that can really have an impact on just about any case. So if you need help finding a lawyer in Florida to answer those questions, you can call me. Not the whole family, just the injured one, but I'm happy to help. Paul Vasquez is about to reach MMI soon for a spinal fusion. I now have ASD in. I don't think I'm going to return to my career. If I do have an option, is it better to take the lump sum? I'm confused. Yeah. I'm not going to say that it's better to take a lump sum settlement versus not, but it's nice to have options. This is the day of today, the client that we had that strategy meeting with. Why did we have a strategy meeting? The person was classified with a permanent disability, but we had a strategy meeting nonetheless. He's gotten his final determination as to his ongoing disability, but we had a strategy meeting nonetheless. Why did we do all that for a person whose case is done? Well, I'm trying to open doors and give options. Do you want to settle? Do you want me to look into a settlement for you? We could potentially get you one lump sum payment and close out your case with a Section 32, which could give you a nice big check up front, and you don't have to worry about getting your weekly checks, your biweekly checks for the next 7 years. Maybe it's worth it. Maybe you want to invest the money. Maybe you have grandkids now and you want to put money into a fund. Maybe you want to buy a house for your family. Trying to open up doors and give options. So that's really what it comes down to with that. Always, I'd like to have more options than fewer options. Augustin Perales had the option of having a functional capacity evaluation, and she says that I can go back to work full time with weight restrictions of 15 pounds, but I don't see me working 60 a week like before. Can I fight that overtime? What state are you in? If you were working 60 hours a week before with overtime, and now you can't, and they're saying you can work 40 hours, well, that's reduced earnings. The board here in New York doesn't look at your case and say, oh, well, you should have been earning $500 a week for 40 hours. So the fact that you worked 60 hours and earned $800 a week no, they look at your earnings. They don't really care about how many hours you worked that week. We're not here to make sure you got paid properly. Workers' comp is not here to make sure your overtime was properly compensated. They look at what you earned, when were you hurt, what's your lost time, what's your disability. So if you now are going back to work and you can only work 40 hours where you were working 60 before, there is a potential of a reduced earnings claim there. Paul, I think I got to that question, but Robert Rhodes, no relation to Dusty. I live in Washington State and my life is over. Worked so hard all my life. I'm just so tired. Robert, I hate to hear these things. Don't give up. It sucks. I know you got hurt. I know. And yes, it's permanent and I get it, but come on. And Washington State's beautiful. It's rainy, but nice. Here it's hotter than the devil's butt. The retired UPS guy. Hello, Rex. Hello. Do you think $170,000 offer from the insurance company is worth it? Since I moved out of state and have not reached MMI, I know how difficult it could get trying to find a doctor that knows California workers' comp law. We have the same problems in New York when our clients leave New York and go to other states trying to find a doctor that's willing to help out. Do I think $170,000 offer is fair? I have no idea. I don't know California law, and I don't know the factors of your case. It sounds like a nice amount of money, but it could be not. Drew O is correcting me. What did I say? What did I say, Drew? Rear ended in March of 2024. Got it. Man, thanks for making me look like a dope, Drew. All good. So you got hurt a year and 2 months ago, not on March 24th of this year. You didn't specify. You could have said March 15th, 2024. But whatever. It's a minor mistake between the two of us. But my recommendations remain the same. Do you have a lawyer there in New Jersey? Do you need help finding one? You certainly should have a lawyer on that case. Miss B is not correcting me. She's just happy to see my allergies are better. Man, I never had allergies growing up. I had friends who had allergies. They were always like the kids in school that had snot all the time. I wasn't a snot kid. I was like a non-snotty kid. And I didn't ever want to be a snot kid, but now I'm like a snot adult. It's gross. Where the hell these allergies come from? So stupid. Thank you, Miss B. Can Ed put a lien, EDD, on your workers' comp claim? I don't know what Ed is. Can Ed? I thought you were saying Con Ed before. UPS guy. Ooh, Will the doc still write a report with MMI if I settle beforehand? He can. Again, that's like if I have beans for lunch, we'll have hot dogs for dinner. Like, I don't know, but they should. I'm out of water. Butterfly in the sky. My doctor forgot to put in the request for physical therapy for several scheduled body parts. How could this affect me? It really shouldn't. Again, talking New York, talking schedule loss of use. The insurance company could make the argument that your doctor didn't let you get enough treatment so that you could have a favorable outcome when you reach MMI. It's a very rare argument to be made. They're probably doing cartwheels enough to pay for the physical therapy. It shouldn't be a big impact. Talk to your doctor, talk to your lawyer. Maybe it's not too late to get some physical therapy and get to feel a little bit better. That's an interesting one. Now, why Swizzle he's on it. Hit the like button. Hit it. Cat, should they hit the like button? Catherine's doing work. I interrupted her. What? I'm the greatest boss ever? Yep, that's what she said. It's for FMLA leave that's required to keep my job. I forgot what the question was, JJ. Kook tube. I'm in New Jersey. I have a lawyer. Reached MMI, but the doctor gave me a botched surgery. I asked for a second opinion after the non-union and botched surgery on my first minute. So you have a broken foot. He fused the bone. It didn't fuse. It does happen. I'm not a malpractice attorney, but it does happen. Talk to your lawyer. Get a second opinion. Try to get that foot fixed. I don't know if there's any other legal action that you could possibly take, but that sucks. Having a broken foot is the worst. The worst. There's certain injuries that are out there that are like disproportionately painful and inconvenient. Burns, broken ribs, broken feet. It's like even a hand injury. It's like, you know what? I could do my best with one hand, but like the foot, eye injuries, I know that firsthand. Mr. Eyeball over here. It's Pepsi time. I got an at work back in it. You got hurt at work back in April. Damn it. Due to faulty equipment. And I also had a previous injury on the same knee months before the work-related injury. My orthopedic and family doctor said I'm 100% disabled. Court hearings tomorrow. How long do I have to wait in order to see my disability payment once the judge approves my case tomorrow. Are you in New York? If the judge, a lot of factors here. Are they controverting your case? There's a lot of factors I need to understand here. But if you go to court and you're in New York and you win tomorrow and they don't appeal, probably 2 weeks. How about that? Swing timer. My workers' comp doctor from the company I work for just said I have to have neck and back surgery. Talk to your doctor about that. See what your doctor has to say. I got a couple more. This one, Robert from Washington, listen to Swizzle. He knows. Hang in there, my brother. Stay strong. You got this. We got your back. And if you have questions, you call. You ask a question here. Hey guys, I have a question. Help me. We're here to help. We're here to help. Butterfly in the sky. Why Swizzle? Are you LeVar Burton back there? Read my mind. Miss B, I think the allergies could be due to global warming and how the bad pollution we're developing now. Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe. Okay. Cougs2 wants me to look at his further statements. I have only a couple more minutes left here, folks. New surgeon found that my foot sequela was crushed and won't do another surgery, but want nicotine levels at 0. This is hard. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, a lot of doctors want your nicotine levels down when they do surgery, so lay off the cigs, brother. I have a workers' compensation that's been going on for a year and a half. The insurance company has not given approval for further testing requested by their QME, which is an IME, but not in New York. Now I have an MSC hearing. Don't know what an MSC hearing is, but I'm assuming it's a medical something in a couple of weeks. And all of a sudden they sent me a letter of approval for testing requested. Can the MSC hearing get postponed? No, I don't know. Do you have a lawyer? That's a question for your lawyer in your state. I don't have an answer to that question. I don't have an answer to how much are the settlements for 2nd and 3rd degree burns. It depends on the body part, not the burn. A settlement, a burn to the hand, there is value different than a burn to the chest. A burn to the face, permanent facial disfigurement. We've talked about that before. Burns suck. They hurt. All right, folks. I'm going to wrap it up here. Pepsi lives in Utica, New York, and I'm going up to Syracuse this week. Come see us. I'm up in Utica, New York. They denied my workers' comp, but I went to 2 orthopedists, and my doctor said, and they said I'm 100% disabled in my right knee. My lawyer said that my company is getting rid of faulty equipment as soon as I got injured. The next day it's shady, and they're going to use it in the court case hearing. I wouldn't worry about that. What's the term? Remediation. That they can't. Don't worry, not a big deal. Asia. My doctor recommended surgery on May 22nd. My lawyer had to file a motion June 13th. Why does the insurance company delay approval? That's what they do. They would be out of business very quickly if they approved every surgery that was requested. G. Bush, thanks for being live in Florida, live and direct, March 5th, my dad's birthday. Crushing finger injury. Just had surgery June 12th because the bone wasn't healing back and floating away. Tip of the finger is floating. How normal is it? Doesn't sound very normal, my friend. I would talk to your doctor about that. I used to always have a joke with a couple clients with finger injuries. When they injure the middle finger, I would always tell them, make sure you don't show the judge your injury. And my daughter at home has a little wart on her finger, and you say, where's your wart? And she'll sit there and give you the finger. I don't mean to, stupid. You know what I mean. Talk to your doctor before you talk to anybody. If the tip of your finger is floating with a crush injury, talk to your doctor, then talk to your lawyer. If you need help finding one in Florida, we have a great firm that we've dealt with in the past down in Florida. They're super people. Clients love them. So if you need help, just give us a call. Miss B, because you raised your hand, I will I've been out of work for 8 months, and my MD, my doctor, was asked to fill out ADA paperwork, and the doctor filled it out stating no work status. Contact the doctor, and they terminated me for this paperwork. Can they do that? That's an employment law question. You got to call an employment lawyer to address that. You know, do I know Pyross and Rupeani out of Astoria? That's my lawyer. I've said before that and I should make sure that they hear this, so I'm not accused of any. I always say there's fantastic lawyers out there. Pyross and Rupeani, great guys, great lawyers. I had a beer with Nick Rupeani the other night, as a matter of fact. He's a good guy, good lawyer. And even though we're competition, there's never a bad word to say about them. There's a lot of great lawyers out there. So yes, I do know them. They're good guys. Nick sometimes actually watches these because this is how I teach him how to be photogenic. You missed my other question. I really need you to see that one. Ms. B, call me. Where's your other question? I didn't know if they could do that. You got to call an employment lawyer. What other question? Oh. Here, this one. Okay, I went to the SMO. What's an SMO? And the doctor had alcohol under the counter at the receptionist desk. And you're no. If you think the doctor was intoxicated, I mean, there have been some crazy stories. I have never experienced this. Talk to your attorney about that, please, and thank you. All right, folks, time to wrap it up. I got to wish the staff a fare thee well for the evening. We got to go over a few things before the 5 o'clock alarm hits, and it's happy hour. So thank you. I love each and every one of you. Great questions today. Great questions today. Next week is a week of wonder. The wonder of it all. We're going to do Thursday, 3rd of July, 3 p.m. You and me, we're going to do this Thursday. I hope. Thursday, 3 p.m. Cy, lock it in. Final answer. Thursday, 3 p.m. We're working on some really good topics, folks. And you know, it's funny. I take a lot of the questions and what you guys discuss. We see what drives people's curiosity here, and that's what we use to generate future lives and topics. So you guys did a great job today. Oh Lord, you guys did a great job today. I'm not posting that, if you know what I'm talking about. And thank you so much. Look forward to seeing you guys next week. Think about those questions. Keep them in here. And if anybody needs to call me, if you need help with a New York workers' compensation case, personal injury case, if you need help finding a labor and employment attorney, if you need help finding a Social Security attorney, if you need help with your closing, you can give us a call, 212-406-8989. I am Rex Sikowski, and I will see you guys next week, 3 o'clock Thursday. Bye-bye.